I'm sure it can be difficult when trying to decide on what graduate programs to apply to, specifically medical school. And in this video, we're gonna dive right in. What's up, YouTube? If you are new to my channel, welcome. I'm assuming that you've come to this channel because you are interested in medicine and you're looking for some advice. Congratulations, you've made the right decision. For my returning subscribers, how y'all doing? Hey, what y'all been up to? How y'all liking my content? You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to bring it to you guys as regularly as I can. What you think? Okay, moving on. Let's get into deciding what school is right for you. Okay, so I've come up with a list, so I'm about to grab my computer really quickly so I can be able to better articulate what I think are very good factors when deciding what schools to apply to so you don't waste a lot of your money, you know, on application fees, on secondary application fees, on travel and things like that. So let me grab it. Okay, so I don't think that any one of these factors come before one another. I don't think that there is a specific factor that you need to look at first before you look at a second factor. Use whatever factors I give you as a way to help you figure out what's best for you. The first one that I'm going to go over is cost of tuition. Of course, graduate schools are typically more expensive. The tuition is more expensive. I mean, you're reaching a higher level of education. You're learning more. You're reaching out into the community. And odds are you may get paid more for that. Well, you're supposed to.
What you doing?
Would you like to speak with us about how to determine what medical schools to apply to?
So my day was good.
Hey. Where was I? What was I speaking about? Some medical schools do have like tuition that is the same for in-state and out-of-state. Maybe the institution is a private institution where it doesn't matter whether you're in-state or out-of-state. It's the same for all students. That's important to keep track of. Also, it's important to compare like which schools that are out-of-state, which tuition is more or less. Some out-of-state schools, tuition is not as expensive as other out-of-state schools. So it's just important to bargain and know what you're dealing with. There are some schools that you may want to go to that may be out of state. I definitely don't think that a school being out of state should prevent you from applying to it. Like I said, there are other factors that play a role in your future, and cost of tuition is just one of those things. The second factor, I believe, is looking into the different programs that that specific school has. So there are some medical programs that offer a PhD dual program where you can get your PhD and your MD at the same time. There are some DO schools that have a PhD and DO program that you can accomplish at the same time. It's also important to pay attention to some schools and how long those dual programs last. Some dual programs, you can receive both your PhD and your MD in 4 years. I know at Duke University, if you want to get your PhD and your MD, it's going to take 7 to 8 years. So it's definitely important to think about those things. Do you want to spend 8 years getting your PhD and your MD? And that doesn't even include your residency, which could be 3 to 5 years, and then your fellowship, perhaps. So, like, it's very important to pay attention to those things as well. There are some programs that have master's programs where you can get your master's in public health in correlation with your MD or your DO. So that's also important as well, too. I think that I'm actually thinking about getting my master's in public health because we talk about and we hear about, you know, socioeconomic status and health disparities among race, gender, specifically Black women or Latino women and things like that. And we hear about it, but like, I can't say that I'm actually like familiar with it. It's one thing to hear about it and it's one thing to be tested on it on the MCAT, but like to actually get your master's in it and to actually experience it and play a role in it possibly would be a totally different experience. And I think that it would definitely enhance my experience as a doctor, given that I'm already a Black woman. So that's definitely something that I personally am considering. So yes, some schools offer master's programs in public health and in other programs, not just public health. And there are some schools that offer PhD programs in biochemistry and molecular biology. It's definitely important to reach out to those schools and see, like, you know, is that something that you're interested in? I have heard of some PhD programs possibly giving you a stipend or paying for some of your schooling in order to get your PhD, because, you know, with getting your PhD requires a lot of research, a lot of time, and that research can get published. Since you are affiliated with that school, it can help that school get more recognition. So they can compensate you by paying for some of your tuition. So that's also important to consider too, if you want to do that. I mean, of course, getting an MD is already, or a DO is already very, very hard and very, very time consuming. But, you know, I'm a firm believer of where there's a will, there's a way. If you want to make something happen, you will make it happen. You will make time for whatever it is you want to make time for. So those also are good factors that play a role into deciding what schools you want to apply to. Location. Location is another factor that I think plays a pretty important role. I'm a family gal, so I don't mind like staying closer to home. I definitely went to UNC Charlotte, and I live about 20-30 minutes away from my university, and I enjoyed it. I was also student athlete, so I got to travel like everywhere, and I wasn't like necessarily in Charlotte for the whole entire time during my first and second semester. So I enjoyed the fact that I could travel, compete, but still be able to feel at home in my city. I do love Charlotte, 704, stand up. Even though I don't necessarily live in Charlotte, I do love the city. So location for me, I would say in medical school doesn't really matter that much, since I did stay close to home for undergrad. I wouldn't mind like going to other schools that may be 6 or 7 hours away from me. But if you are a person who really wants to stay close to home, maybe because you have a family, or maybe because you're married and you want to be close to your husband, of course, location matters. If you're a person who just wants to get more experience and you want to travel and spread your wings and, you know, maybe live in a different area for a certain part of your life for these next 4 years, then by all means, you know, if you're from Charlotte, apply to schools in California, or apply to schools that are, you know, further away. They can maybe give you a different cultural aspect. Maybe it can make you more culturally relevant, or, you know, multicultural, perhaps. If that's what your goal is, if that's what you want to do, you have one life, live it to the best of your ability. I'm all for it. Whatever makes you happy makes me happy, period. One thing that I feel like not many YouTubers or people in general touch on about medical school is contacting specific medical schools that you plan to apply to. I think that a lot of people don't really speak on like how important it is to be vocal to certain schools. These are people that work for the school. They want people to, you know, enroll in the school. So I think it's very important to speak with these people, talk to these people, have conversations with these people. And a lot of times, to avoid the curiosity, or to avoid like you being in the dark, it's very important to speak with certain programs and ask them, hey, where do I fit in? Hey, my MCAT score is this. Does this fit in with your program? What's your average MCAT score? What's your average GPA? How many underrepresented minorities do you accept in your program? Like, it's very important to ask these questions, because one, it'll make it easier on you. It will get rid of your anxiety. You will have more of a direction on where you fit, what schools you should apply to, what schools you will more likely get into, and it will affect your confidence rate as well. I mean, you don't want to, like I said, be in the dark. Like, who wants to be in the dark when you don't have to be? Ask. It doesn't hurt to ask. One factor that I think that I'm looking at more now than ever is my environment. I'm going to be in school for 4 years, okay? I'm going to be working hard. I'm going to be studying. I'm going to be in the trenches, in these books. The last place that I want to be is in an environment where I don't fit in with the people, where I don't feel comfortable, an environment where I don't feel supported. So I definitely think that your environment and your other social factors really play an important role in where you should go to school. And of course, like, I know y'all are probably thinking, well, how would you know like what environment you're in whenever you're applying? Like, you're not there. You can look on the website and like see whatever the school wants to portray to you, but how do you really know? So I would suggest maybe going on like a tour. Given COVID, I know that it may be hard to like actually know what you're getting into, because they're not offering tours. Some schools, I want to say most schools, aren't really offering tours at this time, But maybe you can just travel to the campus yourself and just see like what the surroundings look like, where the school is exactly. Maybe you could possibly step foot on campus and you may see people that maybe like just performing their everyday activities around campus. I don't know, they may be running around campus or y'all, I really don't know. I'm just trying to be creative and try to like create a vision in your head. Perhaps you may just see people roaming around campus. Do they look like people that you would get along with, maybe vibe with? Maybe you could possibly speak to these people, ask them if they're students, ask them about their experience, perhaps, with your mask, of course. So that may be a good idea, but I definitely think that environment plays such an important role. I know that we're grown. Some people are, you know, married. Some people have kids. Some people are just, you know, they really don't really care about the campus life. But I just think it's important to pay attention to what environment you're in, because that can make or break your experience, for sure. My last tip for you guys is cost of living. Of course, as y'all know, different states, different areas of the country have a different cost of living. This kind of goes along with cost of tuition. Your cost of living can determine, you know, how much money you're going to be spending on a daily. It can determine your rent. It can determine your gas. It can determine a lot of things. So I think your cost of living does go hand in hand with your cost of tuition, because wherever you choose to pay for tuition is wherever you will be living. And it's just important to like do your research and like dig up on exactly what will everyday expenses look like for you. What would you possibly have to save up in order to be able to live, in order to be able to not feel like you are, you know, rubbing pennies together? Make a holistic decision when it comes to medical school. I think a lot of people try to just rush into it. Lying, I'm talking about me. Maybe people don't rush into it, but I don't think that people pay attention to all these factors that I'm stating in my video. It's more than just getting in. Are you going to enjoy it? Is this going to be a life experience that's going to create awesome memories for you? Are you going to possibly create lifelong friends that have been with you in the trenches, that have been with you, that you can call on possibly whenever you do become a doctor for a reference or just for advice or just for anything? Like, I think those things matter, and that is what makes your experience like a good experience worth speaking on. And that's the type of experience that I want to have whenever I go to school. So oh yeah, I meant to tell you guys, I know that someone on my channel had asked me what schools I'm applying to this cycle. As you guys know, or if you don't know, if you're new and you don't know, I applied to VCOM, which stands for Edward Vias College of Osteopathic Medicine. And I also applied to Campbell's Osteopathic Medical Program for the 2020 cycle. I got denied from Campbell, but I got accepted into VCOM. I did not accept VCOM's acceptance because I just didn't feel comfortable with everything going on, with COVID going on. I didn't feel comfortable. I wasn't able to actually see the campus. I didn't go and travel the campus. I made a rush decision. I took the MCAT. I didn't score too well on the MCAT. I'm taking it again in a week or so. So I just didn't feel prepared. I felt like I really just wanted to see where I stood with certain schools. And I don't know, y'all. I just didn't feel like it was the best decision for me. It just didn't feel right for me. There are some people, you know, that tell me, well, you should have taken it, or girl, I would have taken it. I would have taken this acceptance, and that's great. But I didn't have the option to actually choose where I wanted to go. I didn't think about these factors that I'm telling you before I applied. I just wanted to get into school. But I didn't take into account the fact that I will experience burnout months after my MCAT. I just didn't feel refreshed. I didn't feel recharged. I didn't feel revived. This go round, I wanted to make sure that I made a thorough decision, because these next 4 years are going to be the most important 4 years to this day. And I wanted to make the best decision that I could. And the only option for me was to retake this MCAT and apply to about 9 other schools. So given all that, like I said, a fellow subscriber, I want to say she's a subscriber. I hope she's a subscriber. But she asked, what schools am I applying to this cycle? So this year I have already applied to Howard University, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, ECU, Duke, VCOM. So I am reapplying to VCOM because they did accept me the first time. I'm still interested in the osteopathic program. So I am applying to VCOM again. I'm also applying to University of Florida, USC, University of South Carolina, and MUSC, the Medical University of South Carolina. So yes, those are the 9 schools that I'm applying to, that I've already applied to. So far, I've completed my secondary application from Howard, and I'm working on my secondary applications from University of Florida and Wake Forest, and I'm waiting on the rest to come in. So that's where I am right now, guys. If you are applying in the same cycle, good luck to you. Kudos to you. Hopefully you have applied already. Of course, you can go back into my old videos and know that the most important thing when applying to medical school is to not apply late. So hopefully you guys have already applied or are in the process of applying now. And yeah, that's where I am at this point. So like I said, those factors are very important to look into whenever you are applying to school. I'm going to go over those factors one last time for a nice little wrap up. Cost of tuition, cost of living, look into whether the programs offer PhD or master's programs, the location, the environmental and social factors, and look into where you fit in the program, whether that is in regards to the average MCAT score, the average GPA, and whether you are an underrepresented minority. So guys, that's it for this video. Like I said, if you are new to my channel, welcome. Hopefully you've hit the subscribe button already. For my new subscribers, thank you guys for subscribing. I see you, I see you, I see you. Share this video if you felt like it was helpful. Share it, send it to someone that may be looking to apply to any graduate school or any medical school. And yeah, don't forget to get locked in.